I'd like to call this January 5th, 2021 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Okay. And first, like we always do, I'll go around to the other committee members and ask, do you have any questions concerning the docket, the payment on the docket?
President, I just wanted to just go back to the invoice that I questioned at the prior Finance Committee meeting regarding the Chrysler police supplies for the ammunition. The invoice was for the amount of $3,543.80. And I was questioning that because during the budget hearing, we asked the question if additional ammunition was going to be needed for the year of 2020. And if I'm not mistaken, it was conveyed that it would not. And then we received this invoice. And during that time, we were not able to get a direct answer from the police department or from Mrs. Hoffmaster. But Chief Campbell did follow back up with me and with the council as well via email with a detailed explanation that purchase was from July. It was ordered back in July. However, the supplies did not come in during that time. So that's why it showed up on the finance claims in December. So it was just getting paid at that time. But my concern is, again, due to that things as far as essential needs, I still don't foresee that really being an essential need at this time for that purchase. But now that we have it, I understand that the invoice still has to get paid. Correct? Would you be able to answer that, Mrs. Hoffmaster?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything. You were asking if we actually paid this invoice?
At this time, has it been paid?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Because in the way I understand the whole thing is during the budget hearings, we did have money in there for the purchase of ammunition. Am I correct?
Correct.
And then this purchase order was made back in, was it June?
July.
July.
So the purchase order was just sitting out there with money already encumbered to the side. So whenever they came to actually make the physical purchase, it would go back to the money that was encumbered in July. So that's how that purchase order process worked. So this wasn't a new purchase that happened. It was money that was already encumbered for ammunition that was passed in the budget. But, you know, the invoice came way down the line, but this is money that we had approved through the budget and approved the purchase order back in July. Well, that's why it hit with this timing. And so we didn't get invoiced until the actual physical ammunition was delivered. And that's how these purchase orders were set up to work.
Well, can I make a comment? See, the way I was looking at it, because it was a invoice to be paid. If now I took it as there wasn't any money left in that ammunition line item. So we did have money in it, correct? Yvonne?
Correct.
Well, how come it wasn't paid then?
The budget line item may have shown that there wasn't any money left. That's because it was already encumbered. The purchase order was written back in July, so that when you write a purchase order and we post that purchase order, it removes that money available from the budget. So you can't spend the money twice.
I understand that, but what I'm asking, at the time that this equipment was ordered, there was money in the account.
Correct.
Okay, so why did it come up so late in the year? So then we didn't have any money in the account, correct? It was sitting there, what, almost 5 months?
Planet.
Right, I'm not sure what, the money was in there when we wrote the purchase order.
Okay,
So it encumbered those funds and made them unavailable. So when you looked at the budget balance, it would say that there wasn't much of a balance left because we'd already encumbered these funds. So they weren't available to spend again.
Then we were just waiting for an invoice to apply to that encumbered dollar amount that had already been pulled out, Paul.
Right, correct. It was my understanding that this was on back order and they received the ammunition in November, hence the November 25th date on the invoice. Because they don't invoice until they deliver the goods.
That makes sense?
no, I would think that you would take that money out and make a ledger. You know what I mean? So that if you ordered it from this company, that it would have the date that it was ordered. And I can't believe, I'm just saying, I had some thoughts about, well, we're out of money. So,
Well, yeah, we didn't attach the order to the invoice. The order is attached to the purchase order that was done back in July.
okay, well,
This is just the invoice that we paid from.
okay, well, I guess what I'm getting at is internally, how was that represented on the, say, cash balance in the,
It was represented as encumbered funds.
okay. But okay, do you log it? When you do that encumbersome, trying to document, how do you internally document it so you know what's there and what's not there? Do you have like a system where it pops up on your computer? So, 'cause I just wonder, why did it take so long to get this thing? You're saying that we didn't receive it because it was back ordered, so that's why it didn't get paid?
So I think,
correct.
Paul, where you're driving at is how would it have been recorded at the time of the purchase order?
That's one of the things,
So basically, cash would have been credited, decreased when we made the purchase order. So the cash would have been taken out of the dollars once we made the purchase order. But we haven't cut the actual physical check to pay for the ammo because they have not given us the ammo yet. Because like I said, Tracy was saying and Yvonne was saying it was on back order. So then when they finally say, okay, now we have your ammunition, here's the invoice, and then they send us the ammunition, and then the money that we already took out that was credited to cash, not debited, but credited, it brought cash down, then that money was finally sent out. So it wasn't the smoothest of transitions. If it would have happened all in one day, it would have been.
I got that, but what I'm saying, what I'm also driving at, why wasn't this explained like that when we had our finance meeting? Because that would have resolved a lot of the, I guess, the communication on what was going on here with this order. So, should we have a letter from the police department explaining it, or maybe if we had that purchase order, it would have helped. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to point that out for the future. All right, thank you.
I just saw Angie pop in, so I was writing her name down as being in attendance here. But are there any other questions concerning this January 5th docket?
Right. No.
Okay. If there are no other questions concerning any of the payments on this docket, Do we have a motion to approve docket as is? I make the motion to approve. Need a second? No second. So the docket's not approved, so none of this money is gonna go out to be paid. Is that how that works, Yvonne?
Well, it's already all gone out. There's a Comcast bill on here that had to be paid so they don't shut off our internet service. I guess we can, the purchase order that's on here for the local share of the grant, we can move it back to the Boyd Development and ask you again in 2 weeks to approve the local share of the grant to go back to the grant fund. And the ammunition check, I got approval from the vice president of the council to mail that check out. So all of this money has already been paid out.
Well, I guess.
Chairman Dabney, can I?
You know, because Comcast is considered a utility, we are allowed to pay those in advance of the approval of the docket. And like I said, we can move the grant money back into the Boyd Development Fund. I'll have my staff do that in the morning.
I was just curious to what's the purpose of having the docket and preparing it for our review if everything gets paid out before we even look at it or have a chance to review or approve it? Is this just a dog and pony show?
Well, it typically isn't. This was the last thing of the year that we did last year. So the only thing on here are 2 Comcast bills that is considered a utility, and we are allowed to pay utilities in advance of the docket so they are not paid late. That's in the statute. And the only other thing that was on here, we're trying to clean up all of our grants, and it was the local share of the Singing Sands Phase 3 that was still sitting out in the Boyd Development. So we moved that to the grant fund because we're beginning to receive invoices on this. So we moved this local share so we can keep all of the grant expenses under the grant project. And then the only other thing on here was carried over from the prior meeting, which was the ammunition. And like I said, we received permission from the vice president of the council to mail that check out.
Chairman Dabney, I just have one more question. Okay, so the process of the approval is, okay, so by statute, you have to pay the utility bills. So if there's no recommendation to the council from this committee and the council takes the recommendation of this committee and does not approve this docket, how does that work if things are already paid? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. I can hear you. I was gonna say, if I can chime in for a second. Maybe utilities and things that are necessities by the city with the docket moving forward. Maybe that should be in advance. But we committed to the Singing Sands Trail. I don't know. That might have been. It's been a long time ago.
2004.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, it's been a long time, even when I was on the council. And so with the ammunition, so my confusion is what's on the docket that is the issue, and can you remove that and approve everything else?
Well, if I'll tell you what my problem is. I didn't want to. I have a problem with the being paid out and I think it should have been documented that this is going to come in front of you. We had to order, I mean, just more communication, more information, and we wouldn't be in this situation. I think I'm, I guess being, just want more communication from the controller's office on these finances. And, I understand that the police need their ammunition, but cleaning up, making the statement that we're trying to clean up our cash balances. I'd like to know, how is this stuff, internally documented? That's what I'm thinking about.
I just explained how it would internally.
I understand it, but I mean,
Paul, you can come into my office and I can explain to you how we post a purchase order and what it does and how it sets the funds aside. It reserves the cash for them, and it's not paid out until we actually receive the invoice. That's the whole purpose of the purchase order.
Is there a way for us to get a list of those purchase orders as they come? I mean, even if we know that they're coming in advance, you guys approved it back in April.
And just for the record, I talked to Yvonne that is going to be the next request of the council going into next year, is that we attach anything that's coming out of a purchase order is going to be attached to the document, so people can see it ahead of time. So I knew that was going to come up. So
because they got 30 days, 90 days. I mean, purchase orders are what they are, but if it's something from April, we're not going to remember.
And that's why
from April.
That's why I didn't remember at the last council meeting.
Okay, well then
until the chief had sent we went in and researched it when we got back in the office the next morning, and then the chief sent that email out, which proved what we had already found, that there was a purchase order written, 6 months prior.
Recognizing Councilwoman Jigas.
Yes, so could you please clarify why you are refusing to approve this docket? Because I'm confused. Like, yes, the purchase order was accounted for and then paid for later than you expected. But what else is the problem with the docket? I just need to explain, because I didn't understand why you guys have an opposition to it.
If I may, my reasoning again was I was just questioning based off of the information that I obtained during our budget hearing. And again, that was months back of when this original purchase order was made. So I asked the question and I was unable to get an answer as to why are we now paying for something that we were informed that was not needed. So there was no clarification that this was a back order at that time. My other reasoning is due to this is not an essential need at this time. $3,500 is $3,500. Is this a need that the police department need at this present time? Even though they may have the funds for it, but is that an essential need? It's just that.
But it's a PO that we signed. It's a contract,
right?
So what you all need to understand, and maybe going forward, is that with the purchase orders, Yvonne, Controller Hoffmaster, if we have a purchase order, if we can have a running list, that way as they come for payment, at least we know, it could just be a running list of outstanding POs for, and as they come and you pay them, we would have seen, oh, that's from the list.
Yeah.
And that way we always know that there's something still outstanding. And also we can have, the finance committee can say, hey, this is still sitting here. Can you follow up on it?
And if I may, I understand purchase orders. And again, my thing is because we were told that we're not to make any purchases unless it's for an essential need. And I did not foresee that being an essential need. And no one could explain as to why that purchase was made during that time, but the chief of police, Chief Campbell, did elaborate on that via email that we all received. Now, as far as making the motion to approve it, is because I don't foresee that as an essential need. That's why I say I understand the purchase order, and I asked the question, had it been paid? And Ms. Hoffmaster clarified and said yes. So moving forward, I didn't support the motion for that reason, not due to the other two claims that's out there. So I guess I could have been I guess I could have clarified it a little bit more by just stating that I approve everything else except for that portion.
But if I can understand this, we approved it, put aside the money for it, and then it came in. So the budget discussion for next year is another ballgame. Yeah, they don't need any more ammunition because this is coming in. They got it. So I don't understand.
As I explained twice.
I understand that it's not going to be purchased twice and that the purchase order is paid for, regardless of how we vote, it's already paid for. But my stance was, I didn't foresee that as an essential need. Whether it got paid on time or not, I don't foresee that as being an essential need at this moment.
What about the other items?
I don't have a problem with the other items. Those are fine.
But we can't send the ammunition.
The approval was already given by
Right.
Vice President, so that's gone. But now we're
I was not notified or aware of that. I saw the emails in regards to that, asking for the Vice President to make a decision because there was not a response or reply from the President. So I was not aware that a final decision had been made to go ahead and move forward with making that purchase until we got the invoice again in our claim packets.
Chairman Dabney.
So.
Yes, Councilman President.
Thank you. For some clarification for Councilwoman Zegas, is that the whole point is that we were looking at was more information and clarification. And that was brought up, and Yvonne said earlier in this meeting that she even didn't recall what it was for, and that it's just being more transparent and having the information in front of us so we know what we're voting on. That's so we can clarify that issue. And that it's as simple as that, is that we know what's coming in and what's coming out. You know?
I have a question, Councilman President. We receive our dockets 8 days in advance of the meeting. This goes kind of back to when we did the budget hearings in the summer. And I asked to have everything read before we showed up to the budget hearings. And every night, everybody's flipping through pages trying to find out where we're going because it hadn't been read. And I had to scream out, tab 4, page 9. And if you had a question when you got the docket, could you have called and got that question answered?
Surely.
Yeah.
But the question was, but here's the whole thing. The question was made, Mr. Dabney, or Chairman Dabney, the question was asked and the question wasn't answered at the meeting. And it doesn't matter if you call 8 days before, that information should be there with the information that we're being asked to vote on. But I thank you for that point, Chairman Dabney.
That'd be like me coming to this meeting and asking you, Paul, could you tell me how much money you have in your checking account right now? These are the kind of questions I can ask you to show us.
But Chairman,
you know what, Mr. Councilman Dabney, that's not germane, and that's not to be.
I don't even know what that means.
If I'm asking a question, we're asking it to be answered, and that's the bottom line. Okay, and I have asked questions and they haven't got answered, so I'm not putting anybody on the spot. But I appreciate your comments.
Okay, so are we just not going to approve this docket? And when we show up at the council meeting, I'll just say I have no report because the council.
Or Chairman Dabney, it seems like there was a consensus to approve the rest of it, just not the one item. So there was no second on the initial motion that you made. I don't know if you may want to modify it to see if there's a second for that, just to.
Okay, can somebody else make that motion? You want to make a modified motion?
I'd like to make a,
I move.
okay.
Make a motion to,
Make a motion to approve the claims regarding the Comcast for utilities and the local share grant for Sinking Sands, omitting the invoice for the ammunition.
Second.
all right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, aye. All right, are there any other questions regarding anything on the docket? If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned at 6:25 p.m.